Oh my God, look who's here. Welcome to the latest episode of Before Floor, extension of 5 on the floor here on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. I got Jonathan, follow him at 3-Piece Combo. You got Brady Hawk, follow him at Brady Hawk 305. And just in time, we got Greg Sylvander. You can follow him at Greg Sylvander. No Ricky tonight. Alejandro Villegas is producing. Thanks to our sponsors. We, of course, so yeah. When you hear the noise in the background, you know Alejandro is unmuted. Thanks to our sponsors, Biscayne Bay Brew, the official beer of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and also of the Miami Marlins. You can also find them at the kiosks, the 100 level and 300 level at the arena. This is the only independent brewery in South Florida. They got a new brew house. It's going to be, it's there already. We're just waiting for them to invite us. It's down the street from the arena. Right there in downtown Miami. Tried the Tropical Bay IPA and all the other beers that they offer, the Marlins Lager. Of course, they've got a brew house inside the Marlins Stadium, Lone Depot or Lone Shark or whatever the heck it's called. So you can check it out there as well. And you can find it at many local restaurants, including our friends over at the Quarter Deck. Also sponsored by our friend Mark Brown, PA.com, MARC, BrownPA.com. He's the guy you want to go to if you need an estate plan. His phone number is 954-566-5678, 954-566-5678. And also he can handle your closing, your real estate closings. Did a great job for me with that. Even when the other side was not particularly competent, he was, and his staff was. They were very patient and they made sure the deal got done correctly. 954-566-5678. Ask for a free case evaluation. And of course, mention 5 reasons. All right, let's get to it. Brady, who's in, who's out?
Yeah, it's the same thing for Miami. No Jimmy, no Bam, no Markieff. Just the big one is with Milwaukee, no Giannis tonight. And we're looking at a team that just played Toronto with the same way and put up 93 points. Obviously, they still have some guys over there with Middleton, Drew Holiday. But that obviously is a big, late scratch.
No doubt. And this changes the equation. It also changes the equation if you guys have played this new contest that we have going on for just tonight. You've got 57 minutes to download the app for free at the Google Play Store or at the App Store. If you're an iPhone person, it's called ASX Sports. ASX Sports. Download it. Here's the contest. There's a prize pool of $300. We've had really good response to this. We're going to do a bunch of these. The entry code is 0603. So when they ask you for the password, it was a little tricky. I figured it out. The password 0603 to enter the actual contest. And basically what you do is you decide how many shares of players you want to pick for tonight. So for instance, Tyler Hero was, I think I bought 10 shares of Tyler Hero and like 11 shares of Chris Middleton, threw in a couple shares of Dwayne Dedman. You got to pick at least 3 players' shares, and it's based on at least 3 players, as many shares as you want, but you got to stay under $1,000 fantasy dollars. So it's pretty easy once you get on the app to figure that part of it out. Again, the entry code is 0603. Compete against us. It doesn't cost you anything, and you've got a chance to win part of the prize pool of $300 tonight. So it's ASX Sports. But Greg, let's go to it tonight on Giannis. One of the things we talked about last night on the pod is that without Giannis, PJ Tucker could guard Middleton, which was going to be a problem tonight because you didn't have Jimmy to guard Middleton, which is typically the way that they go. That PJ would have probably guarded Giannis. This feels to me like it levels the playing field quite a bit, right? Like you've got Drew and Chris Middleton on one side, but no Brook Lopez, no Giannis. You've got no Jimmy and no Bam on the other side, but you have Lowry and Hero and ostensibly Robinson. It feels to me like, again, it's a little bit more of a fair fight now.
Yeah, yesterday when I so boldly guaranteed a Heat victory at Indy, I said, well, tomorrow night, all bets are off, because I was saying that under the impression Giannis was going to go. The minute that he was said to be doubtful and now out, you're right. Like, to me, it's going to be super interesting to watch how much they put Drew on Tyler and how Tyler handles that assignment, because I think Drew's going to get up and really pressure him, and that'll be fun to watch. But you're right. Like, PJ can now essentially guard Middleton, and I can't really identify another wing on that roster that or big really, that I'm going to say, okay, PJ Tucker needs to slide over there for a bit or else we can't stop him. So I'm looking for a big dose of PJ Tucker on Chris Middleton. So you're right. It's a level playing field. And Kyle looked so good last night that I'm just hoping if these guys come out again and can repeat that performance in any semblance of the form, it's a huge sign that they're heading in the direction that we all hoped, especially with no Jimmy.
Jonathan, it feels to me like the Heat offense should run through whoever Drew is not guarding. Like Greg says, if he's going to guard Tyler, Kyle has got to be more aggressive. If he's going to guard Kyle, then Tyler's got to be more aggressive.
Yeah, there has to be a release valve for where this offense is going to go to, because you just can't be, forced on one guy. The good thing last night is that we had a really good team effort from everybody. We were getting efforts from everybody. So I think it's going to kind of have to be the similar way tonight, because we know that Drew Holiday is going to shut somebody off for a portion of the game. So whoever that person is being shut off is, we're going to have to find another way to get the offense. Hopefully Duncan Robinson can continue his performance yesterday. Like to Greg's points, Kyle came out firing yesterday, and he didn't really let off the gas pedal. I think, like you said, whoever Drew's not guarding, we're going to have to force or kind of let the offense flow through them.
What do you guys? I posted some stats. I decided to do sort of the rabbit hole thing this morning on the NBA's stats site, and it's really fascinating, actually. I mean, the Miami Heat first thing are still fifth in net rating in the NBA, even with everything that's happened, and second in the East, right behind Chicago. Like, they're very close to first in the East in net rating, and of course they beat the Bulls. But what do you make of these numbers? The best two-man combination on the team this season, it's not even close. This is with a minimum of 200 minutes. Okay, so at least 200 minutes. Dedmon and Hero, plus 19.8 per 100 possessions. Okay, I'm going to go to Brady on this. Here's a couple more. Okay, the minimum and two-way contracts on this team have been more productive from a net rating perspective than their expensive contracts. Dedmon is a plus 13.5, first on the team. Morris in his 10 games, of course, we haven't seen him since, plus 9.5. Martin plus 6.9. Vincent plus 4.8. And Strus plus 4.0. Everybody on the team is at least plus 2.2 or higher, except Pala. I mean, this looks like a misprint. Minus 23.4. I don't even know how that's possible. But Brady, what do you make of the fact that, again, Dedmon, Morris, I know he's been out of the equation, but Dedmon, Martin, Vincent, Strus, you're talking about four guys on minimum deals who have been four of the most productive players on the team from a net rating perspective.
Yeah, the Dedmon Hero numbers have been crazy all season. I think part of it was Lowry and Duncan have not been putting up the craziest numbers on the floor. That when Tyler comes in, obviously he's doing great, but obviously the drop off factors in. Dedmon, basically every lineup with Dedmon has been much better net rating wise. But that is the difference maker. Those young guys being able to come in, and I feel like we're still not at the point where you're totally trusting the depth, later in the season. But right now they're playing, as you mentioned, better than a lot of these other guys. In the games before the last one against Cleveland, I said before, the best lineups were those three guys with Tyler and Dedmon. Like, that was their best lineup they could possibly put out there. It's why they ended up closing the game. Kyle, Duncan, obviously was out of reach, but Kyle, Duncan, and PJ were actually on the bench the entire fourth quarter. So it just feels like that's the big difference maker. And as we trend towards to look at it tonight, I feel like we talk so much about the top guys because we basically know what you're getting from the bench at this stage. But you need sustainability, I think, with the bench tonight, because this is a thin Bucks bench that you almost need a Max Strus tonight. You almost need Gabe Vincent to give you that shooting still. You need Caleb Martin to continue to score and do his thing. Like, it feels like this is one of those games that you got the game yesterday where Duncan and Kyle stepped up and you got to win, but this is one where you're going to need, a strong 9, a strong 8, kind of mattering if they're going to play Omer or not with that 9th slot, which I probably expect after what we saw yesterday. But these young guys being able to step up at this stage is huge, and that's why they're able to kind of those numbers are what they are, just because the lineups have been so much better.
I mean, to dig even deeper on this, Greg, 18 games that Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent have played together, 96.8 defensive rating. That's not a small sample size at this stage.
No.
Vincent and Dedmon, 90.6 defensive rating. Dedmon and Martin, 94.7 defensive rating. I literally could not find a combination that included Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent, okay? I could not find a two-man combination with a defensive rating over 100. with Caleb. And so what's interesting to me about that is when I tweeted this, Trilly tweets back, but do you trust them in the playoffs? I mean, yes.
Spo will. Like,
right?
listen, those metrics will pluck his heartstrings. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I think if Spo's going to trust anything amongst a group of young players in the playoffs, it's if they're showing up on the defensive end. You know what I mean? So like, that's where I feel like, because that's what they're bringing. And there's a degree, and we've talked about this, Ethan, on 5 on the Floor, like the energy level changes and you can see it. And it's like, it's not hard to notice. That all combines to me as like, they need Caleb Martin to get converted to a fully guaranteed contract as soon as possible, because they need him. And I personally think it would be smart to actually give him one of these Strus, Gabe Vincent 2-year guarantee deals where you get him in the program. He knows where he's going to be. He can feel stable in his role and build, because like, he's shown us nothing but upside to me.
But it's a little tricky. They can't do it right now.
You're right.
At the same point, I mean, I think he's been active for 21 games at this stage.
Yeah, that clock's ticking.
The clock, right? I mean, you're going to get to 50 soon. I mean, they've got to adjust to it. All right, let's pivot. I'll start with Jonathan on this. So tonight, I kind of agree with Brady, the sense that we may need a game from a Strus and Omer, somebody offensively. I feel like Caleb and Gabe, the defense is going to be there. They're going to bring that energy, but there's got to be somebody offensively beyond who Drew does not cover among the starting, trio of guards.
Yeah, the ball is going to have to fly around. I think really what it's going to be is just like what we saw yesterday, just a really team facilitated type offense, because if the ball starts to stick and we just kind of get it stuck on one side of the floor, guys stop moving off ball, I think that's really when we're going to get in a problem and we'll see this offense start to fall apart. We don't have enough talent on this team for the ball to just be in isolation. So I think as long as the ball keeps moving, I think as long as everybody just continues to fill their role, I think we'll be able to find enough offense. I like the looks that we've been getting. I know early in the season that we haven't been hitting as many threes as we've, wanted to. Part of that's been because of Duncan, and part of that's been just because of overall the team has been struggling for shooting. But I feel like we've been getting some good looks. So I think if we can continue to convert some of those good looks, keep the ball swinging from side to side, and, defensively, like you said, use those guys. Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, those guys are pesky on defense. Just keep them there, turn defense into offense, and make things a little bit easier for us.
A couple questions here that came in. By the way, Grayson Allen would be a good play in ASX if you download ASX and put some shares of Grayson Allen. I got a bad feeling about him tonight. I probably should have put some on him.
I just bought a share as we're on the show right now.
It's not a bad idea. You could pivot this stuff on ASX. It's fun. By the way, we're still doing prize picks. Use the code 5. Again, that's a little bit of a different game here, so you can play
totally.
That one.
It's not even in the same.
It's
realm.
not even close. I mean, we're just trying to introduce you guys to all this stuff to see what you like.
You can remember the ASX code, but I remember it in 2006, in 06, 03 won his first ring. So 06, 03.
Well, that's pretty good. Or LeBron and Dwayne, right? 06, 03 in Milwaukee, the famous dunk. It's perfect. So either one of those two ways. Speaking of two ways, and a couple of the other comments that have come in here. I think the two ways are going to get some help Monday. I would not be surprised if Jimmy's back. From what I'm hearing, I think it's more likely. I think he probably could have played tonight, but it was a question of flying. Not being available for the first game. And then, so I do think there's a possibility, which is why, again, to pivot here to Brady on this, to me, this game is so important because, I mean, if you can win these two games without, I know who's not on the other side. I understand it, but just to win this game in Milwaukee without Jimmy coming off of the Bam thing, and then to get Jimmy back on Monday, potentially, like we could also, I mean, the Bucks and the Heat are right there. The Eastern Conference, literally, there are 9 teams in the East over 500 right now. Like, and Milwaukee and Miami, it may come down to a tiebreaker for seeding. It's very possible at this stage, particularly if Milwaukee does not win its division, which is also possible because Chicago could win that division, right? So, I mean, there's a lot at play tonight.
Yeah, I think the major thing here is that Miami just needs a decent record. I've said this before, over this next 2-week stretch. Like, they have to get to December 15th. Not with maybe 500, like maybe not even. They just have to have a decent record without obviously starting out the no Bam era for the next couple months. Obviously, Jimmy's been out. But once you get past December 15th, for the rest of the month, you have some very, very bad teams. And it feels like that's when Jimmy will be healthy. Hopefully Duncan's shooting continues. Like Lowry knows his role offensively. You're going to have like Detroit twice, Orlando twice, San Antonio, Houston. Like you're going to have a bunch of pretty much garbage that's out there that you're going to be able to win those games with or without Bam. And obviously in this case, they're not going to have them. So it feels like these games, if you can get a game that opens up with no Giannis, and obviously you give Jimmy another day, it's just huge. Like it really is. Like this team is third in the East right now. Like, and I feel like we kind of lose sight of that at times just because we look at it in such a through a microscope. And I feel like just seeing where this team is right now, Jimmy or not, like this is a game they can get, and if they do, I feel like they're in a really good spot.
Yeah, I got to get off of this show so I can buy some more Grayson Allen. I just bad feeling about that tonight. I like the Heat tonight actually, and I know Greg was the only one on the panel to pick them last night, so we got to give him credit for that. And it sounds like you're going to go that way again. But I do think Miami wins tonight because I think Spoelstra found some stuff last night. I feel like having a little bit more confidence in Omer is helpful because I do think that he would like to at least have one big out there at all times. And now you're away from the KZ experiment, which I think is also positive. And I just think that they have that core bench group in, not just the Duncan, but the core bench group gives me confidence that they're going to defend like crazy in this game. Like they may win a 95-90 game tonight. Like I feel like it could be something like that, Greg.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I'm actually chasing a stat here. So the Bucks had their 8-game winning streak snapped by the Raptors, and they didn't score 100. And they had won their previous 45 games when they held their opponent under 100. So they held the Raptors to 97 in that game, but yet still lost. And that was a run that started on Christmas Day of 2018. So like, I feel like if Miami can push enough of the scoring element, get over 100 points, they got a good chance tonight. And I'm expecting Tyler to play a lot better than he did in Indy. I felt like he got an increased amount of attention, and that opened up things for others, and that was good to see. But tonight, I think you see the Tyler that we're more used to seeing, and yeah, I'm taking him, even though it feels crazy to say they're about to go through Indy and Milwaukee without Jimmy and Bam and actually win both games. So there's a part of me that knows that that's maybe a little unrealistic.
Yeah, but it's not. This is not Milwaukee. I mean, they play off the honest. Just to get before we close here, and Alejandro is going to take you up until the game with some pregame content. Check out everything else on the YouTube channel. Also check out 5 on the Floor from last night, and also the post-up show, of course, after the game. Paces and Spaces, Pace and Space. At halftime of the game, Sean and Tony and the rest of the crew will take you on that on Twitter. But just to get to a couple of comments on Markieff Morris, we don't know. I've gotten less information probably on this than any other injury that I've investigated over the past 25 years. I can't get anything. So if I had something, I would tell you. I promise that. Biscayne Bay Brew hosting Pace and Spaces tonight. So that's from Sean. Additionally, the Drew Tyler matchup, I'm interested in seeing it too. I think, though, that may, as Greg said, create opportunities for others. Trey Giannis is not playing. He was doubtful all day. He's not playing now. And so I actually feel like Tyler could get hung up a little bit tonight, but others may flourish as a result of it, particularly if Drew puts pressure on him. And there was one more, the KZ thing. Everybody's talking about, can you trade KZ to free up the spot for Caleb? Trust me, if they could trade KZ, they would have done it already. I really think at this stage, like, he hasn't proven to be an NBA player. They're going to have to attach a pick, and they just had a pick taken from them. They didn't have that many picks to begin with.
Or just wait and add him as filler to a deal when something can happen.
Exactly. I think that's where it goes, and some young team wants to take a flyer on him, but there's just no value. No problem, Gustavo. There's just no value there for another team. And, again, we know that KZ Okpala was somebody that the head man wanted, and he doesn't give up on his players easily, okay? I can tell you that most of the guys contributing off the bench are guys that Chet and Adam wanted, okay? And as much as we appreciate the vision that Pat Riley provides for the franchise, and obviously his faith in Kentucky players, which has proven very well, on the back end guys on the roster, I'll go with Chet and Adam.
But he listens to those guys more often than not. He does.
I will say that. I would say that directly to Pat, and Pat would probably nod his head and say yes. Okay. I mean, if you want to know who's responsible for most of those guys who've come into the program, it's that. No, Morris is not hiding for the Jokic brothers. He's legitimately hurt. Oladipo update. before we close, I'm still hearing same timeline, January kind of back on the court, maybe February game shape. Like we haven't really wavered from that over the past couple of months. That's
I mean,
consistent with what I've
when
heard.
he was hooping closer to the start of the season, I directly heard that like the best case scenario, if everything worked out perfectly, was sometime in December, which could be Christmas and after, like it doesn't mean right now, but I think that we're trending more in the direction of some late January, February, maybe.
I don't think you're getting a throwback KD jersey. I think you're getting a throwback Nick Collison jersey for KZ, unfortunately. But we'll see. Maybe KZ will surprise me tonight. We'll see what happens. All right. Go to Prize Picks. Use the code 5 if you want to play there, or if you want to play this contest, which is just for tonight. For now, ASX Sports. Download it. It's free. Check it out. You got nothing to lose. I mean, literally nothing to lose. And get in your Grayson Allen picks if you want. I'd put in some Middleton, some Hero, some Deadman, and a little bit of Omer tonight. So I use the entry code 0603.
I diversified my portfolio. I have like 12 or 13 picks.
Well, all I got to say is don't buy DraftKings because in the real stock market, because I've gotten hammered on that for the last 2 months. All right. Thanks to Brady. Thanks to Jonathan. Thanks to Greg. And thanks to Alejandro for producing.
Yeah. I mean, it'll impact it, but everybody always, every team, is in their own place and their own journey of the season. And obviously, we played last night, and we want to continue to play good basketball on the road. Even without Giannis, this is a great basketball team. They know what they want to do, and you have to play extremely well here. I wouldn't just say it's the last 3 weeks. He's been getting better. The last year and a half, every month that he's been with us. We say it all the time that people only notice if the final column, where you're putting up points. That's the only time people notice. But he's been playing winning basketball for us. Really developed into a two-way basketball player. He's a combo guard. He came to us more as a 2-1. We've developed him more into a 1-2. That's not an easy transition. He's done a really good job of developing those skill sets, and now he's just getting comfortable. The guys are giving him confidence, and he's always been able to score. We've asked him to do other things. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a great fit. We have a lot of similar values on how we view competition. How he approaches games and competitive contests. It's just very similar to how we do, and he's fit in very seamlessly in that regard. We've been a fan of his for a long time. Tonight is a special night as well. He was a big key to their championship run last year, and we want to celebrate that with him and acknowledge that and honor what he was able to accomplish. to how we do, and he's fit in very seamlessly in that regard. We've been a fan of his for a long time. And, tonight is a special. We're have a lot of similar values on how we view competition. How he approaches games and competitive contests. It's just very similar to how we do, and he's fit in very seamlessly in that regard. We've been a fan of his for a long time. And, tonight is a special night as well. He was a big to their championship run last year, and we want to celebrate that with him and acknowledge that and honor what he was able to accomplish. It's awesome. It's the toughest thing to do in this profession is to come collectively together and try to win a championship. I don't even know if you can say this anymore, that he's arguably one of the most underrated stars in this league. Because he's a one-man coverage unto himself. Whatever you're trying to do, he can blow it up with his speed, his agility, his strength, just his size, and his competitiveness. And then obviously he clearly has a great IQ, for the game. So he sees plays happen before they actually do. He's one or two or three steps ahead of it. And they have a great team defensive system behind him, but he is the perfect fit for what they do to start their defense. He's a big factor on that end.
All right, we'll start with Ira Winderman, Sun Sentinel. Go ahead.
Eric, when you see something like what happened to the Hornets today, losing 4 players all at once and, sort of being ravaged by protocols, is there anything you can do, or is it just the life we're living now? Or do you bring that to your players and go, hey, as cautious as you're being, be cautious?
Yeah, we talked about it today in the walkthrough. And, you just want to be vigilant, but you also don't want to live in fear. This is our profession. This is what we're doing. We want to keep it going. And it also is dependent on, everybody, trying to do their part. But certainly when you see something like that, we just want to make sure that, everybody here was getting tested since they're the last team that played Charlotte. Obviously, those of us that were here last year, when we were in a similar situation against Washington, it affected us, and we ended up losing a few players because of that. We were the next game, but everybody's doing their part, and we feel good about the game tonight.
Except for the 5 players not there, everyone else good to go?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
All right, up next we have Cooper Moorhead, Heat.com. Go ahead.
Yes, but for all the good things that Omer did last night, one of the smaller ones is he didn't pick up a defensive 3-second violation, in the heart of that zone. I'm curious as to how well he's picking up the intricacies of kind of manning the middle in that zone.
Well, he's working at it. He's drilling it. He's watching film. It seems like that call can be so arbitrary. We've been hit with that a few times. And I think our guys are very smart about it and detailed. it's not an easy thing. We just have to continue to work out and show awareness and making sure he knows how and where and when to cleanse himself and have a new count.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Spo, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. We're on Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're also on Dash Radio on their Nothing But Net channel. That's every single weeknight at 7 p.m. Also, check out tests for you, but it's just tied to the Bucks game. So if you're listening to this on Friday night or Saturday, get ready for it, okay? Because we've got a special promotion for just the Heat Bucks game. Here's what you've got to do. You've got to download an app. It's free, so don't worry about it. Either the Apple Store, the App Store, or if you're a Android person, you can go to Google Play and download it there. So you got to search for ASX Sports. It's ASX, like Alpha Sam Xavier Sports. Search for that, download it, and then you're going to enter this code 0603. If you forget it, it's LeBron and Dwayne. 0603. What did they do in Milwaukee? They had that famous dunk. That may help you remember it. And basically just enter the contest. And basically what this is it's like, it's a fantasy game, but it's kind of like a stock play. So if you play the stock market, you're buying shares in players for this particular game. You have to choose at least 3. They'll give you 1,000 fantasy dollars to invest. And then we see who wins at the end. But here's the best part. They're giving away $300. There's a prize pool of $300, and it's just tied to the Heat Bucks game. Okay, so make sure that you download the app and get your picks in by the 8 o'clock tip time on Saturday. ASX Sports is where you want to go. Again, ASX Sports. Download it. Use the code 0603 and enter for a chance to win up to $300, and it doesn't cost you anything. And now, tonight's episode.
Yeah. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, Ethan Skolnick back here on 5 on the Floor. Here's tonight's floor plan. I got Greg Sylvander with me. He was the only one with the guts, so to speak, to pick the Heat tonight over the Indiana Pacers on the road without Bam Adebayo and also without Jimmy Butler, Markieff Morris, and a cast of thousands. The Heat win convincingly. Actually, they won by, what it ended up, it ended up 10 or something along those lines?
113-104 was the final.
Okay, so a 9-point win, but it was really more than that. They kind of were hanging on for dear life at the end, and they weren't making things easy on themselves with a flurry of technicals. It's like, just get out of there. Okay, what's the point at this stage? But it doesn't mar what was otherwise a tremendous performance. I think this was one of the better performances of the year for this team, considering the circumstances, considering the way that they've played of late, considering that they don't have Jimmy, that they were still reeling from the loss of Bam for several weeks, and also the way that it happened. Because as you know, look, Brady Hawk, our guy, talked about it on the pregame. They can't win without Bam and Jimmy unless they get it from both Kyle and Duncan. I mean, you know what you're getting from Tyler at this point, but you got to get it from both Kyle and Duncan. They had 4 threes in the first 4 minutes tonight. Okay. They had 1 3 in the previous game combined. They were tremendous. I mean, Duncan Robinson, it's not just the 3-point shooting. Greg, he looked like a basketball player again tonight. Like he was getting he was getting in the paint, reverse layups. He was adjusting. He was countering. He was doing all kinds of things that he hasn't done. It just feels like when those first 2 shots went in, the pressure release, you could just feel it. And he played great. But also, I want to pair him with Lowry, because I've been critical of Lowry lately for not doing what he did tonight, which is, you are the $30 million player. You are the future Hall of Famer. You are the NBA champion. You're playing with a bunch of two-way guys. show them the way. And he did that tonight. Other guys were really good. We'll get into some of them later. But to me, this starts with Lowry and Robinson setting the tone and showing, look, we're not going away just because we don't have Bam and Jimmy.
Before this game, if you said, what would be the absolute best case scenario? No Jimmy, no Bam. Best case scenario, everyone would have said Kyle and Duncan get back on track and you find a way to gut out a victory in Indiana against an Indiana team that's been struggling. They've been bad at home and they've had their guts ripped out late in games recently. And they're reeling a bit just as a team. And then to see Kyle come out and be so aggressive early, he really, when you look at 26 and 9 assists, like that's a Timmy Hardaway stat line. Like that's the kind of stuff he used to do where you can still get your assists, but get buckets, 18 field goal attempts. It's necessary now. Duncan Robinson, like you said, looks so much more comfortable. He shot a 2-point field goal. I've been talking about this for days and repeating it like an old man, but he did it finally. I was really impressed by the way that he bounced back. And Tyler was a calming force. And Brady touched on it in his takeaways. I really felt that there were moments where Tyler settled the team, not necessarily like a traditional point guard does, where he slows everything down and kind of waves and directs traffic, but just in his pace and in his timing and the way he was picking his spots, it settled the team in a way that sometimes I think Jimmy does something similar, and they really needed that tonight. So it was a collective effort, but that backcourt, man.
Tyler played a really mature game. And I you can feel it now where it's like you know what you're getting from him. And that's why we don't start with him, because we're kind of in a good way taking it for granted, but they needed it. Like you mentioned, when the Pacers made pushes tonight, Tyler pushed back, particularly in that third quarter, and allowed them to get an extension. And then we'll talk about some of the other guys who were helpful. But again, Lowry and Robinson, it's not going to be like this every night. But I just think this is so massive particularly for Duncan, but also for teammates' confidence in Duncan to have a game like this where, again, not just the shots go down, because he shot 38% from three on the road coming into this game. He's been okay.
4-point play. Didn't he have a 4-point play?
He did. But he has shot the ball reasonably well on the road from three. But he wasn't then also doing the other things. And he was looking for the ball. He was hunting for shots again. And look, that Indiana team, I still feel like, even though I think, Carlisle's an excellent coach, I still feel like they should be better than they're not better than the sum of their parts. And I don't know why. And so they did not play a terrific game today, but really the Heat kind of just took them out of it. Like every time they pushed back, everything that they had LeVert going for a little bit, they had Sabonis going for a little bit, but every time Miami countered, but it started with Lowry and Robinson, and they have to get at least one of them. But I'm with Brady. If they're going to win games like this, they need it from both. And they need the 3-point shooting, but I don't care about Kyle Lowry's efficiency. I don't. I'm fine with him with 26 points on 18 shots, whatever. Okay.
Yep. Agreed.
He needs to get the shots up. He needs to, and it's okay then at the end of the game when he's complaining like he always does, if it happens in a win when he's played like that. Okay. It's been a little frustrating to watch at times when he doesn't play well and he's kind of mouthing to the officials all the time if it looks like he's getting off his game. But tonight he was on his game throughout and he was terrific. So look, we've been critical of both, I think, for different reasons, different expectation levels, but $45 million are going to those two guys. They need to give you this. They need to give you this.
Tonight is what you ask for with no Jimmy and no Bam from that $45 million.
Well, Lowry significantly outplayed Malcolm Brogdon. And that was a really important matchup coming into this game, because the way that LeVert played, what Sabonis and Turner can provide. The fact that you were able to have Lowry outplay Brogdon that significantly, when Brogdon's a guy who's typically obviously getting the Heat and a lot of other teams' trouble, was major, major, major. And Tyler was good too. But we're going to get into some of the stuff with Eric Spoelstra here after the break and some of the other players who contributed. Before we do, though, I want to tell you about another sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and that is CPT of South Florida, which is the place we tell you. Phone number 954-966-2766. That's 954-966-2766, or visit the website at CPT-Florida. That's CPT-Florida.com. All right. Well, people were calling for Yurt. And then about 2 minutes into Yurt's appearance, people were calling him to get out of the game because he looked overmatched.
What a roller coaster.
I'll say this. One of our former co-hosts, right, on Twitter, but he was really good tonight. And it wasn't just the scoring, although he looks nice with that little 12-foot jumper. It was he kept Sabonis off the boards, and that was a problem in the first half. Like his height, his length, his willingness to use his body, which are things we saw in Summer League, they showed up tonight. But I want to put it in the bigger context here. Eric Spoelstra said that he was going to change some things, right? That he looked at some stuff, and we're going to have to figure out how to play without these guys. And it looks like that's one of the things that he decided, that against a bigger front line, he's going to go to him. He went to Haslam for spot minutes. He did not use Okpala. So that was a change. And that's after he said that Okpala gives him some of the things defensively that Bam does at the 5. Didn't use him at the 5 tonight. Went with Yurt and again with Haslam a little bit instead. Tucker still played his usual minutes. Dedmon didn't play as much. Dedmon played, but not as much as he had the previous night. It feels like this is a little bit more of a blueprint without Bam, that if you can trust Yurt with the minutes, you'd rather have him play than Okpala because he does give you that length and, again, that scoring ability too, and that skill level that KZ doesn't really have at this stage. So I thought that was one of the key adjustments tonight.
Absolutely. And also, so Yurtseven was great. I thought that, I just think about them now getting the chance to work with him with strength and conditioning. He's got such a high skill level, good timing on block shots. And I really like the idea of them integrating him more and more. The Haslam minutes early, obviously I'm going to always root for those minutes early, but it was clear that Yurtseven was the better option late. Gabe was a really stabilizing presence. Again, he had some big shots down the stretch to kind of close the game out. There was a 3 late that was really important, I thought. So all in all, the bench was great. Like, this is nuts. The Pacers shot 33 free throws to Miami's 13. They shot 20 more free throws. And because they were 9 of 36 from 3, 25%, they lost the game. Like, that is unbelievable. And it just kind of shows you that Miami got to what they wanted to get to on offense tonight, and it had nothing to do with anything else than they dictated this game. They had control of it essentially from start to finish.
Well, and a lot of it was that they made shots early. Sometimes we sort of talk, we overcomplicate this. When you make shots, everything else feels easier. You feel more into the game. There's more confidence. You don't let down on defense. And so all of that, probably was more important than any rotational change that Eric made. But I do think, there have been times that we will criticize Spoelstra. I think this was kind of a masterclass tonight, though. Like, he got his team emotionally ready to play. He pushed the right buttons in terms of the guys that played. He made the right moves in terms of when to bring certain guys back. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a private conversation with Duncan. I know Brady's on the calls right now. Maybe I'm sure Duncan's probably going to be one of the featured interviews tonight. And I just looked like Eric Spoelstra got to his team. Like, he figured out like what didn't work. And I think we talked about it when you and I were both so discouraged the other night. They got shell shocked by the Bam thing. Like, Bam didn't think it was bad. And so then you got to play a game after that. And they just didn't look ready to play. Tonight, it's like they refocused. Like, this is who we have. Okay, Jimmy's going to be back soon. Maybe Markieff will be back soon. And we have, quote unquote, to quote Spoelstra, enough. But you also mentioned the bench. And I just want to point to this. They have 3 guys on that bench who play so damn hard all the time. Like, just, and again, you don't want to take that for granted, because even with quote unquote Heat culture, the Heat have had players who don't play hard all the time. But Vincent, Strus, and Martin play hard all the time. I mean, Caleb, that one chase down block where he's pointing on the break, to his teammates on how to get back, right? And then he makes the play.
It was great.
He's just a really, really, really good role player. Like, it's not just like a two-way find at this point. Like, that guy is a legitimate NBA rotation player on a good team. Like, he's a more athletic Rodney Magruder, like, without maybe the shooting touch, but I think he's a better player actually.
Yeah, better
than Roddy was.
offensively. Yeah, absolutely. I've been really impressed by him. Max also brings a level of competitiveness, even if he's not playing well. You always kind of like feel him in some certain way. So I thought that the bench was really big tonight, even though all of them necessarily didn't fill up the stat sheet.
Yeah, and Vincent, this is a consistent thing. He closes games. Like he plays well down the stretch. Like you're not at the point with Vincent now where you're afraid when he shoots it. Like finally. You feel pretty good about it. And also the reps that they're getting with him and Lowry together are meaningful because we don't know what condition Oladipo is going to come back in. And so there may be times, maybe Tyler, tweaks a hamstring or something like that, or isn't available.
Point of attack defense. Yeah.
They're gonna need him, and not just to replace Lowry, but I don't think we ever anticipated he would be playing so many minutes late with Lowry, and in some of the 3-guard lineups, and he's really been good. Like, they keep finding these guys. You hope, for their sake, I guess you hope they overpay them. For the Heat's sake, you hope they don't down the road, because we know how some of that is gone when you kind of overrate your own. But I like what I've seen from all 3 guys. I think that all 3 guys now have come up to a level where there's a confidence that you are going to get that effort. And they also are kind of figuring out what they can and can't do on a given night. And I think that's important. But Caleb's
Did it seem like they switch less?
Yeah, I think so. And Caleb's athleticism around the rim is impressive also. He finishes with both hands. He's able to get in there. Sometimes he bites off a little bit more than he can chew, but like, I like the fact that he tries. Like it's I don't know. All 3 of them have been impressive. All right. When we come back, one more quick segment. We're just going to talk about Milwaukee because the Heat play them on Saturday. Again, we want to mention ASX Sports. Download it on your phone. Play the contest. The contest is 0603 LeBron and Dwayne, and you get a chance to win $300. So just download it tonight. As soon as you listen to this, again, it is free. But also I want to tell you about 2 places that you can go to get discounts using our code 5RSN. That's number 5RSN. If you need grooming products of any kind, cologne, etc., or any of the sports cream, premium CBD, get it from therapistpreferred.com, 25% off if you use the code 5RSN. All right, they play the Bucks. They're healthier than they were the last time, and the Heat are not as healthy. This is not the first time.
Giannis is doubtful.
Oh, well, they're not as healthy then. Okay, because Brooke is out. We know that. Surgery, long-term. Middleton and Drew?
I think they will be available. I'm trying to flip through here.
Okay.
This was on this Fantasy Labs NBA account that just here we go. Injury report for Saturday night against the Heat. Lopez, DiVincenzo, and Ojale are out. Giannis Antetokounmpo, doubtful with right calf soreness. DeMarcus Cousins and George Hill are probable. That is their injury report.
Well, if Giannis is out, that evens the playing field, right? Because, you've got Giannis out on one side. Brooke is very important to what they do, although he hasn't been available this year. And DiVincenzo is also, obviously got hurt against the Heat last year in the playoffs, but is also had been important to what they do. And you don't have Jimmy and Bam and Markieff. So it feels a little bit like one of those games where if you just shoot the ball well, you could win. And
imagine they go on this little trip and they get both. Wow.
That would be pretty remarkable, all things considered. And, you've got to think that Jimmy is getting closer. From what I've heard, he is getting, I don't know that it's going to be the first game after they get back, but I think it's soon. And so, and in the Morris situation, everybody asks us, we've tried to dive into it. They are providing no information. All the usual places I go, I'm getting nothing. So we'll keep digging on that. But I will say, if it's one of you who listens to the podcast from inside the Heat organization, you want to send me a text, I'll take it, because we're getting nothing right now. Okay. And I'm not really sure why that is, because usually you could get a hint to something. But this does kind of even things out a little bit if Giannis doesn't play, because they have to play through Middleton. And we know that as good as Chris Middleton is, he can be highly inefficient on certain nights if you play him the right way. And I would think he would see a heavy dose of PJ Tucker, his old friend, right? Be physical with him and try to get him off his game, because PJ wouldn't have to play Giannis. If Giannis isn't playing, he can switch over to Middleton, which is usually Jimmy's responsibility. So going to be interesting. But again, you just want to steal as many as you can here without Bam. Stay afloat. Try to stay on that 5 to 7 games over 500 area until, again, Jimmy, then eventually Bam, maybe Oladipo, and then that run of home games that you get after the All-Star break. But to finish tonight, and thanks to our sponsors, CPT, ASX Sports, download the app, Therapist Preferred and Manscaped, use the code 5RSN. But to close tonight, the big story tonight is Duncan Robinson found himself tonight. Now we'll see if he can sustain it. And Kyle Lowry remembered who he was and who they signed. Those are both good things that happened for the Heat tonight. For Greg, I'm Ethan. Check out Post Up 5R on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.